Everyone, welcome to today's webinar. My name is Charlotte Aiken, and I'm a contractor supporting the EPA's Energy Star program. Today we'll hear presentations from Pinellas County Schools in Florida and Gresham-Barlow School District in Oregon. But before the presentations, I'll briefly go over some Energy Star tools and resources that pertain specifically to K-12 schools. Next slide. And skip to the next one after that too. So the K-12 Energy Efficiency Student Toolkit is designed for K-12 students who want to start or enhance an energy management program at their school. The toolkit features 9 different activities for students of different age levels and was just updated for the 2024-2025 school year. Next slide. By using the toolkit, students will learn how to benchmark and understand their school's energy use, conduct an energy efficiency treasure hunt, which we'll get to on the next slide, encourage their school community to adopt energy efficient habits, observe and increase awareness of indoor environmental quality, measure cost reductions, and finance energy efficiency updates, and spread the word about their efforts. Next slide. Within the toolkit is the energy and water efficiency checklist, which students can use to conduct an energy efficiency treasure hunt at their school. This checklist can help students discover opportunities to increase energy and water efficiency in the classroom. Next slide. And then I'll just quickly highlight the K-12 page on the Energy Star site, which features additional tools and resources to help you learn how to assess your building's energy efficiency, find financing opportunities, save energy, and earn recognition. The tools and resources listed on this slide are accessible from the K-12 page, and it's a great site to bookmark. Next slide. Yeah, so very brief overview, but I hope this was helpful and informative. If you do have any questions, please hold them until the end of the webinar, or feel free to email Katie Hatcher, the Energy Star National Manager, directly. I'll also flag the Energy Star newsletter, which provides updates and news about the Energy Star program. And then again, just the K-12 page. So now I will pass it off to Clint Herwig, who will present on Pinellas County Schools. Clint has served for 16 years as a social studies teacher and basketball coach before becoming school administrator in 2004. He then went on to serve as a high school assistant principal at 3 different schools until 2009. Where he became a high school principal. And then in 2014, Clint became the district's chief operations officer, where he has helped shape the district's energy conservation measures, resulting in over $63 million in energy savings since 2015.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. It just reminds me that I'm a little bit older right now. So, what I'm going to do is, if you could put up my slides, please. And then, and my apologies to everybody. I'm going to turn off my video so that I can manage my slides just a little bit better. And you won't have to see me flipping through pages all day long. But next slide, please. And I do want to thank everybody for joining us today and for allowing me to share our story with you. As we go through this today, you'll see that nearly every slide has a key takeaway near the bottom of the slide in orange. Some of them are a little bit more profound than others. Some of them are pretty simple. But I did want to try to leave everybody with some of the key thoughts as we move through today. And I just want to start with Pinellas County Schools in general. And we're the 9th largest district in Florida. You can see there how many students we have. And we have about 13,800 employees. We are a coastal community. If you were watching the Weather Channel last month saw both Hurricanes Helene and Milton, we were in the crosshairs of both of those storms, and both of those passed over literally right on top of us. Unfortunately, we lost a couple of schools. We're working to get those back online right now. But one of the things that's, part of our story that we'll get to in a little bit later is that we are a coastal community, and it does bring up some concerns, especially with parents and with our staff about our schools in general. And, when you turn off air conditioning in Florida, especially along the coast, some concerns come up about air quality, and we'll talk about that in a little bit later. But if you can go to the next slide, please. A little bit more about our school district. We have 130 different schools and 128 K through 12 facilities and 2 technical colleges that serve adults and career programs. We also have 13 ancillary facilities, everything from our district office to our district warehouse, our food and nutrition headquarters, and then different support centers and service centers throughout the district. And all of them are of different sizes and of different needs. But all in all, total, we have 18 million square feet of conditioned space. Nearly all of those, even those ancillary facilities, have extended day or year-round programs. It includes summer school, summer camps for our students, things like STEM camps and music camps throughout the entire summer. And we also lease a lot of our facilities to outside groups for activities and even private events that they want to hold. So the takeaway from that is those year-round programs equal year-round air conditioning in our case. And I realize it's probably the same in other parts of the country who have not only air conditioning concerns, but also heating concerns. And so whether for us, it's almost all electric, for other parts of the country, I know especially with the heating, it comes down to gas and fuel. But we're all spending a lot of money to try to heat and cool and really condition our schools. And it's becoming a year-round event for everybody. And so we're all looking for different ways to save money, which kind of brings us to the point of where we are today in Pinellas County. And next slide, please. In 2015, a little bit after I came to my position, our superintendent is one who tasked me with trying to do something with our energy budget. And at that time in 2015, our electric bill alone, and that doesn't count water or gas or even waste management, but our electric bill alone was $26 million. And that really kind of opened some eyes when we shared that with people in the community, even when we shared that with our legislators, who give us money thinking it's going to go directly to the classroom and give it to or directly to teachers. But finding out that $26 million a year is going into an electric company is kind of shocking. We had no energy management program in place. And one of the first things I found out is that for one reason or another, schools were running air conditioning 24/7 every day of the year, even on winter holiday when we have 2 weeks off. We're still cooling the building as if kids were there. And then when we talk to people, our plant operators and our principals and people who were doing that, and I admit, as a principal, I was one of those. I was guilty of that as well. But a lot of people were really afraid that if they turned off the air conditioning, that it would affect the comfort of our staff. It would maybe cause mold to grow in our classrooms with the heat and humidity that we have. And there were some people that were afraid that the equipment wouldn't come back on. It was, running all the time, and they were afraid if you turn it off, it may not come back on. And so those were, in some cases, legitimate fears. But in 2015, what we did is we engaged with a company named Synergistic out of Dallas, Texas, and they've become our energy management partner since that time, since 2015. And what they were able to do is supply us with energy specialists who were able to go out to schools and start working with not only the equipment, but with our school leaders and devise strategies to start turning down and start really affecting the run times of our schools so that we're not running 24/7 and we're not running over holidays. And as you can see on the slide where we are now today, our electricity bill is still a lot of money. $27.7 million is nothing to ignore. It's a lot of money. But at that time, during that time from 2015 to now, our electric rates alone rose by 43%. So if we had done nothing, and if we had continued to operate 24/7 with those increased rates, we would be paying now between $37 and $40 million just on electric alone. Those savings have not come easy. And if you can go to the next slide, please. And next slide, please. Thank you. As I said, the savings haven't come easy. There was a lot of behavior to change, a lot of hand-holding at times with schools and even with teachers and other people about the comfort of the room. But one of the things we were able to do is we never did affect the comfort of the room, whether it be for our night cleaning staff or for our teachers. We've had just a microscopic size number of people who have reported that their room is too hot or anything like that. We really have concentrated on making sure that our buildings are ready for students and teachers in the morning, and even for those people who work at night. But one of the things that we did early on, and I credit our former superintendent, Dr. Grego, that he said from the very beginning, he wanted to dedicate any savings that we made to employee raises. And so it really did incentivize our staff members, our school leaders, and really all employees to do a little bit more than just turn off the lights. You know, they went that extra step. And as I said earlier, you know, it didn't come easy, but by incentivizing our staff with, you know, you're going to get a little bit of a raise out of this, out of these savings, was a tremendous way to kick off the program. But one of the things we ran across in 2018 is we had reached a plateau. And, you know, it's easy to affect run times, to turn off the lights, to turn off the air conditioning on the weekends and things like that. But we just weren't getting any extra savings that we could find. And we actually got to a point where people thought that, you know, enough is enough. We're doing enough that we can. And they were, again, afraid to go that extra step. And really the thing that we discovered that you can see in orange there, we were trying to run the program from the top down, from my office and the superintendent's office to schools. And what we really realized at that point in 2018 is we're going to get a whole lot more savings and a whole lot more effectiveness if our principals and our school leaders are the ones who are leading the program. And so if that kind of leads us to our next slide. One of the things that we did early on is once we came to that discovery, we decided to incentivize our principals. And what we wanted to do was put in a program in which if they did the things that we were asking them to do, you know, watching their run times, watching where they put summer camps and where they, how they scheduled summer school and the things like that, that, you know, they should, if they helped us save money on our electric bill and helped us become more efficient energy-wise, then they should be rewarded for that. So our first incentive plan was just a very simple thing that we had a rubric that we set up on, here's the things that you need to do in order for us to gain more energy efficiency. And if they follow that rubric, and we really just looked and put checks in different boxes of the scoring sheet, if they did all those things, we gave them some little recognitions. It was $500 for faculty celebration, and we got that money out of the money that we were saving from our electric bill. And we also gave them different kind of recognition awards, including you know, window decals that they could put in their front office, you know, campaign size or type of yard signs that they could put in the front of their school. But then what we realized is that they were doing just enough to get the little rewards, to get the little $500. And it still wasn't as great of an incentive as we wanted to really affect. And if you could go to the next slide, please. We kind of came across the current version that we're using. One of the things that we, at least in Pinellas County, and I think it is nationwide, schools love data. Principals love data. They love looking through their testing data, their student data. In Florida, we have school grades. They love comparing their school grade to the school grade of their friends who are also principals. So there's a little competition there as well. And what we notice, at least in our district, is our principals are competitive with each other over data. So what we wanted to do is get real data. And I know a rubric can be used as data in a sense, but we wanted real data that was kind of irrefutable. It was based on their electric bill. It was based on their usage and based on the way their buildings are used. And so we settled on the energy use intensity, the EUI, as the measure for that data. That's going to be our baseline data piece. And we set up a program with our energy specialists from Synergistic that schools can earn a financial award by improving their EUI from year to year. So they were really competing against themselves, and every school wanted to kind of show that it did better than it did last year, just like they do with school grades and student achievement. And at the same time, our superintendent also put out a challenge to everybody: just get 1% better every day with everything you do. And we're taking advantage of that. We're taking advantage of that with our principals, not only with their student data, we're challenging them to get 1% better every day with their energy efficiency and with their EUI data. And they've kind of find it as not just another thing to do. It's become something, I don't know if they would call it fun, but they do definitely have an interest in it at this time. And the next slide, please. What we did is, again, with 128 schools and our 2 Pinellas Technical Colleges, we divided the schools into 5 different, what we call classes or groups. And we put our large high schools and our largest middle schools in one class by itself. And it's kind of like in sports, we call it class 5A. I think you mentioned earlier, I was a former coach, so I kind of latched onto that pretty quickly. Our smallest schools are in the smallest class, we call it class 1A. But what we do is if you meet or beat your EUI guideline, or your target, I should say, every single year, you're going to get an award of no less than $1,000. And it starts at $1,000 with the class 1. And the class 5, the reward for those big high schools and middle schools is up to $3,400 a year. And that's just if you beat your target from year to year as a school. What we also then took a look at is in each of those classes, we give a special award of an additional $5,000 to whichever school does its best in that class. Whoever has the largest percent improvement in that class gets a bonus of another $5,000. So let's say you're a high school or middle school in that class 5A, the biggest class, and you beat your target from the year before and you show more improvement than any other school in your class, you're going to get $8,400 as a bonus at the end of the year. And we've set that up so that principals can use that. It's what we call discretionary funding, so they can use it for anything. They don't have to spend it on any one thing. A lot of our principals have used it to improve their classroom libraries. Some have used it to make upgrades to their school media center. Some have put in programs for student celebrations, things like Student of the Month, Student of the Week, and all kinds of other different things that they put in place. So what we're really happy to see is our schools, our principals are spending that money back on the staff and students who have helped them gain that incentive through better energy efficiency. And if you go to the next slide, please. This next slide is a little bit of a repeat of that last one, but what we really wanted to do with EUI, we had to set up a way to make it a little bit, we didn't want to make it obviously impossible for people to meet their goal or to meet their target, but we did want to make it somewhat difficult for them to actually achieve and seek, that 1% better every day or every year. So what we did is we determined an average EUI for each school, and we adjusted it for off years. And for off years, it might be a school that has construction project going on, or a school that we're replacing the HVAC system. Or the 2 schools that we lost in Helene and Milton definitely are having off years, when it comes to terms of their electric bills. If you look at the bill 5 years from now, it'll look like, what did they do to save so much money for electricity? But so we're taking a look at all those things that could really kind of throw off the average and adjust for those. But that average EUI after that adjustment becomes your target. And as I said earlier, if you beat your target EUI, you're going to get the award. And again, it's cash to the schools that they can use to help celebrate teachers and staff. And our next slide, please. One of the things that we also see, and even after the incentive program was put in, was that it was difficult to maintain momentum, and especially with principals who've been at their school for a long time. It gets to the point where there's only so much more that you can do. And some of them kind of say, well, you know, the money's nice, but I'd rather spend more time doing something else, or I'd rather do something else and put a little bit more effort into other things. So what we did to maintain momentum, was that our energy specialists meet with each principal quarterly to go over their EUI, to go over some ideas which they could implement at their school to help bring about more energy efficiency. In addition, our budget office can provide our principals with their electric bills so they can see how much money they're spending as well. We take great pride in Pinellas in going after the Energy Star building certifications, and all of our schools put in for that award every single year. I think this year we have 58 schools that have become building certified, or have earned, I should say, the building certification through Energy Star. And as a district, we also put in for Partner of the Year every year. And we'll share those results with you at the end, but we're very proud that we've been a Partner of the Year with Energy Star for 5 years. And we celebrate those successes as a school district, but we also celebrate them on the school level as well. And so that's one of the things that I think has helped us maintain the momentum and even get better every year, is that we tell the principals throughout the year, here's where you stand, here's where you can get better. And we do the same thing as a district with the building certification program and Partner of the Year. And we just have these little other incentives besides the cash throughout the year, is every principal wants to, you know, show off their school. And they are very proud, and they do display their building certification programs as well. So maintaining that momentum, keeping principals involved, keeping them up to date so they don't have a surprise at the end of the year, you know, something like, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't earn the incentive this year, just doesn't work. You have to give them an opportunity to see their data and give them an opportunity to make improvements. And I think that for us has really helped maintain that momentum. And on the next slide, we have a case study from one of our schools, a fairly new principal, and she's been there about 3 years now. And what she did is took a look at her school when she first got there and condensed the after-school programs and summer programs into one wing. She has a really big school, 2,300 students. It's a high school spread out over, I believe, 12 different buildings. And instead of having teachers occupy each of those 12 buildings in the summertime, when you may only have 15 or 20 teachers on staff running summer school, she's put them all into one building. And that way we can turn off the air conditioning in other parts of the building, saving not only a lot of electricity, but just, you know, again, being a good steward of the taxpayer dollars, and really a good steward of the environment as well, just saving all of that energy. This principal has also monitored weekend activities. And one of the things that we found out at her school, during the wintertime, the boys basketball team would come in and have practice at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the girls like to come in at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we had to run the air conditioning all day long, you know, to make sure it was comfortable for both of them. And she made those coaches put their practices back to back. And that way air conditioning is on either in the morning or afternoon and not running all day long. Little things like that she did has really helped her school. And in 1 year alone, she reduced the EUI at her school by 30.45%, which is remarkable. I still have to talk to her. I didn't get invited to the party when she spent the $8,400, but I'll forgive her for that. But again, it's just a remarkable, you know, example of a principal who got involved, wanted to make a difference, you know, had the data in front of her, had a plan, and she exercised it. And again, the savings were remarkable. So as to wrap up my section today, I think I'm getting very close on time. If you can go to the next slide, And this is my final slide in Pinellas County Schools. Since we've implemented the program for energy management and brought in synergistics in 2015, we've saved nearly $70 million in electrical costs. And that again is $70 million that would have gone to, our utility provider. And instead we kept that, and we got to spend that on teachers, and we got to spend that on students, and we got to spend that on supplies. And most importantly, like I said, we spent that on employee raises to maintain a really high quality workforce. We've been named the Energy Star Partner of the Year in energy management. You can see for 4 years in a row, starting in 2019. And then last year, very happy that we, through our efforts, we're now received a Partner of the Year for Sustained Excellence in 2023. And as I've said earlier, we had 58 schools named Energy Star building certifications. And again, all of those awards that you see right there, we celebrate with our school board. We put that out for the media and really make it that this is the way of work for us today. And this is something that we expect from not only our district and our school leaders, but from our community as well. So with that is the end of my presentation, and can't wait to hear what Terry has to say next.
Thank you, Clint. We'll now hear from Terry Taylor, who will present on Gresham-Barlow School District. Terry has been an educational facility management professional for over 40 years, beginning with Mercer Island School District, where he worked as operations director, North Shore School District, where he worked as the director of maintenance and reduced utility costs by $800,000 per year, and finally as the director of facilities for Gresham-Barlow School District, which has achieved an energy reduction of 51% and saves $1.5 million annually.
Well, thank you very much. And Clint, you did an amazing job. Folks, I'm going to turn off my camera so I can also focus on my screen as well. And I will say I'd like to thank Katie Hatcher and the EPA Energy Star folks for giving us this opportunity. We've been working with EPA for a number of years, but I also want to give thanks to Charlie Hopp with New Energy Technology with his AEM movement. It's been a real teamwork here for us. And then Alan Krapser also in our office, Assistant Director of Facilities behind the scenes. Gresham, Oregon is right outside of Portland. And I guess, Clint, with you being in Florida and us in Oregon, we couldn't get any further away if we tried. So we are 12 times winner of the Energy Star Partner of the Year Award. It's been exciting for us. In 97, I was at North Shore and I was working with Charlie with hard copy reports. At that time, I tried to get our school certified. We had 40 or so schools. One school qualified to be Energy Star. So the energy loss at North Shore School District was rampant. When I came to Gresham-Barlow, I had shared that we had reduced the electrical spend by $800,000 the first year, an additional $500,000 the next year, so $1.3 million, an additional $3 million after that. So in 3 years, reduced it $1.6 million. I applied for Gresham-Barlow's job and met with the CFO there. They had been doing equipment only work, reduced the electrical spend by 24%, and they ended up, she challenged me saying she wanted to be at 50%. And I will say, thank you for sharing earlier. We got to 52%. I didn't think it was attainable, but it was. So I'll go now and just really get into our presentation. We have 10 of our buildings, we used to have 19 schools. We've reduced some. We made a few bigger so that we resized our district. But 10 of our buildings are Energy Star building certified in 23. 17 of our schools now serving 11,500 kids. And when you look at the size of Clint's district, we're just minuscule in the size, but really the same principles go. And speaking of principles, I'll get in that a little bit, but district-wide Energy Star score is 84. Energy use index for us is at 42. We are really achieving some high standards in energy conservation. The program we use, Advanced Energy Management, and was shut down with Energy Star. And we actually just a little earlier today had a meeting with our head custodians that I'll share in a little bit. Utilizing paid high school interns is a piece that is unique for us. They are not in the Gresham-Barlow School District for the last few years. We do have one intern possibly that's staying on this year, but they're really from the state of Washington. Interns are helping us, some from Kent County Schools at times, and then champions of partners where we have district energy teams at each of our buildings. So go ahead, next slide. So really the 5 basic, business components of energy conservation, we're going to talk about 2 of them today. And the conservation piece is one of the things that just makes sense to people. And if you're reading that, it's the 8,760 hours in a year, or in a, that year, how much of it is really in schools? And so really turn off the power when not being used. And I'll get into that in some real information, but our DDC systems, really, they manage the schools, and we've invested a lot of money when to turn them off and on, but the true information is in the data. And that last piece there is you can't manage what you don't measure. We measure 15-minute interval data. We get it from the utility companies for years, and lately we've got it from a new company where we can get the real-time meter data. We can get every second data. It is too much. We do break it down to 15-minute for the reporting capabilities, but it does help us with the real-time piece of information. We can find out when we have energy losses or energy spikes right away. The rest of it with efficiency retrofits, that's where Gresham-Barlow started. Procurement, renewables, we're just not there yet, but we're going to get into those other 2 I just talked about. Next slide, please. So for 27 years of maintaining energy accounting, it started a little before me. That's the slope that Gresham-Barlow is experiencing, but we're at $25 million in avoided cost. This is our new normal. If we decided to not do what we're doing, they would have to take $1 million to $1.5 million out of the general budget every year. And that would just mean reduction in staff. So that commitment there, we're really using Portfolio Manager to be able to justify really everything we're doing nationwide, because people try to say, well, it's not like that in Texas, or it's not like that in Florida, or, we're in a heating season or cooling season. Well, this is all weather adjusted. We compare against that line in 97 when really Gresham-Barlow was faced with a company that said, it won't cost you anything, we'll just share the savings. Gresham-Barlow took that seriously and kept all the savings. Go ahead, next slide. So here are our portfolio manager scores. We've got some 3 stragglers down at the end, but we're really proud of this. We do share this information with our building administrators. Clint, I do like your involvement as with a principal, being able to tie in with them. I don't like to get into the building as much because I don't want to take away from the educational challenges, but really we got to celebrate the successes, and we are going to get those last 3 remaining schools on. I just don't like seeing this graph when they're below, but of this, it's really exciting, and being able to have the 10 schools certified, 4 more slated for, this next year. So we're excited for it, and we keep moving on. Next slide, please. This is very important. This is really our baseline for what we do, and I'll try to talk through what it really looks like. But on the left, the governing variables needed, for understanding how that we use electrical. What couples with us, and it could happen in other parts of the United States, but our natural gas follows our HVAC profile as well. So we take a look at the building square footage. Just happens to be a middle school of just under 100,000 square feet. The operating schedule, when you look at unoccupied times there on the left, that's telling you the base load. The school is hitting its target base load, and then we start turning on the school 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. Staff are coming in at that time. That profile then is we try to reduce those shoulder hours of start school time Then we have an occupied time. And so you're really looking at that KW use, right? That KWH ends up being that day is when the school's in session. And then about 4 o'clock, as we shut down the HVAC, people are out of the building. It looks like we had a little bit of facility use there around 7, 8 o'clock. And then really the custodian shutting down by 9, and then outside lights and things start shutting down. They've been able to attain that. And so when you look at operating schedules, it's really important that you see that energy use coupled with the HVAC schedule. The DDC systems or HVAC, the energy management systems are important, but they really have to track with what energy use is. So you got that target baseload, which is being met. One of the things that is really important here is we, on the bottom right-hand side, it has a weather correlation there. It was low of 44 and high of 64. So when you look at that compared to another time, maybe the year prior, and I'll get into that, but we have everything weather correlated so that we can fully understand how we're using the energy. Go ahead. Next slide. This happens to be us being able to use 2 elementary schools and be able to compare them. Looks like one of them starting a little early. They're both 75,000 square foot elementary schools, and then the shutdown. So this is just one way that we use our building comparisons. Next slide. This is important here. Summer school over the last few years has increased, but we had 250% summer school increase this last year. And it was crazy for us to try to clean the buildings, let alone try to keep them staffed. And but really that increase of summer school was second to none. The community use is very important. Churches are using our buildings, but when you really have that much energy use increased and try to still keep that under control, that is important for us to work with principals on location of buildings, location of classrooms, keep them all in one air handler, or in, Clint's case, in a certain building. But with 250% increase, it was a tough one for us. It's really credit recovery. It's about our students, and we're going to run the buildings what they need. Just an example of what we're challenged with in facilities. Next slide. This happens to be a target baseload that wasn't being met one of our schools, and basically it was a HVAC piece of equipment that did not shut down at the end of the day in July. And so we had some facility use. We usually don't run in July, and then all of a sudden the system didn't turn off. So go ahead to the next slide. This is where we fixed it. And so we're able to see when the problem was fixed. And I do have the data for another building. It was a Wednesday night. Our night custodian heard HVAC running, knew it wasn't supposed to be running, turned it in the next day. That head custodian generated a work order. We dispatched maintenance. They weren't able to get there till Friday. They fixed the problem, or they found out the problem, ordered a part, replaced it on Monday, and we actually lost $1,000 in those 5 days with that runtime. But I will tell you that we only lost $1,000. If we didn't have this data here, we would have thought things were running normal, and that's what happened when we were at the middle school. This right here is just wasted money. The control system thought it was working, but being able to use interval data and being able to measure what your use is where we're able to find this and to be able to reduce that savings. Without that, and that middle school example, I would have assumed it was either hotter or colder in that time of year, and that is our new normal. We can't just accept new normals. Okay, next slide. This one's pretty busy, and I apologize for that, but I'll go ahead and just start working through the information that you have. This happens to be last January, and I shared this a little bit with some folks, but we had a natural disaster or a disaster declared by President Biden that Oregon was in a freeze, and we had some extreme cold weathers. And so what you're looking at are multiple days from January 11th through January 26th. And what you've got there are black is the year prior, red is this year, or this last January. And when the purple dotted line on top is the temperature from the prior year, and the purple solid line is when the temperature really dropped. We were in the double digits here, and when it started about the 11th or 12th, and you see that dotted blue line at the bottom, we got down into some really cold temperatures, down into about 14 or so, and we lost power in 15 of our 17 schools. And when we at different times, and so we'd be running around having them turn back on. But when we did turn them on, the HVAC had to be running 24/7 to keep the buildings warm. And there's an area right in the middle. Added energy use cost us $500 in just that little window of time. And so that cost impact to us at a 12-day issue was, it's minimal to maybe the bigger districts, but to us, it's very important. That's another $1,132 here. And so this is very important for us to go back and share with our administration. Why did we have to spend more on our utilities? Even though they knew we were out there and they assumed that, we didn't have challenges unless we told them. With 14 degrees out there in the Pacific Northwest, it's not normal. Our normal lows are in the high 30s or 40s. And so it was really extreme for us. If you look at the low on the left-hand side, the year prior, the low was 33, and the low on the right-hand side is 14 degrees. And so the highs were the same, but really in this is understanding how that weather correlation works. This has happened to be just one school. This is Kelly Creek Elementary at 60,000 square feet. And so when you times that by 17 schools, this really could be a major piece for us where we're talking $25,000 increase on just being able to keep the power and HVAC going. Go ahead, next slide. So in the timing of the year, there's 8,760 hours of possible run times in a year. What we're looking at here, this AEM shutdown with Energy Star targets unoccupied locations. And so we just had a meeting this morning. Alan actually met with our head custodians, issued the Thanksgiving break Energy Star shutdown. We're working with the students with the AEM movement, but really right out of the gate, 50% of those hours are nighttime, and we should be turning off our HVAC. There's weekend times that we are not occupied. And so go ahead and shut that down. Summer break, weekday shutdown, all the way down. So we basically have unoccupied hours at 68% of the time of the year are unoccupied for school districts. That equates to about $150,000. If we did nothing and just let things go, we would have to spend that much money. And to us, it's a waste. We need to be good stewards of the community and the resources we have. So it's very important that we understand what the opportunities are there, and that's really where we go after it at this point. Go ahead and next slide, please. I'd like to share a little bit. It started back with Jim Schlachter, and he's in the middle of the right-hand picture where he's holding the Energy Star part of the year, and Jean's there, Katie's there, got Charlie there in the picture as well. Then the students, these students happen to be from Bellevue, Washington, and Roger Chen on the left-hand side was a senior at Bellevue High School, helping us with the AEM movement back then. This was exciting for us, and Charlie's always been a champion of getting the students involved. And again, I don't like pulling from the educational time, but this really is, it's important to them, and being able to get in there and be change agents. If I told a principal to save energy, it's one thing, but if a student tells this principal to save energy, it comes with a different message. If the kids are telling us to be better stewards of resources, then we probably should. Today, Mariana from was Tacoma School District. She's now at the University of Washington. She led our meeting today, and it was very exciting. And so it's really a program that NET has been fostering and mentoring, and they're opening up at Wenatchee School District as we speak. It's a new program. Next slide, please. So example of an Energy Star champion, what we do is we send out emails, and this email actually came from Mariana. And I know it's awfully small, so don't worry about reading it, but Mariana sends it out to all of our building head custodians, and they have some attachments there. It's a building performance report for the week, and then it's a shutdown list for the July shutdown. So this is our summer program shutdown. Head custodians have an attachment there. They also, sorry about that, my timer went off. And the piece there with Mariana, she was the one that would follow up with them. And today, as it was very exciting. I think our meeting lasted about 5 minutes to be able to share how we're doing that this year. They were all engaged with not any questions. So Mariana and the team in Tacoma and Charlie and the net team have really done well and made it more of our new normal. Next slide, please. So this is how we look at the AEM shutdown with Energy Star. We compare what our previous use was, what our current use is, what the savings are. And this is a report that comes out from the weekly report from our students. And so we ended up losing in this week here. And basically we had some challenges. And so they will identify where the challenges are. Mariana's team is the one that did this, and so they write that. This was Kira and Sam that did this. So it gives us an increase or a decrease in what we were doing. This was one of the weeks we weren't doing as well, but we also had other programs that were dictating that. And so we could answer it, but the true data is students being able to report that. We didn't need to go out and get that. It's just part of our program, and then we're able to come back and make those changes once they've been identified. This one looked to be about $4,000, and we were able to find the extended run times and identify them to prove that it was authorized. Next slide, please. This is an example of the 15-minute data where it looks like in the red, we are wasting a little bit of energy. That bottom base load, it looks like we're about 12 kW higher on a base load. So we have some operations that we need to fix. The green area is showing that we are doing better this year than we did last year, where we're shutting down on the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We do have some weekend use, which is they're showing it high, but we ended up having some churches in there. So we ended up understanding why. But as we look at this, it gives us an opportunity to say the good and the bad. And again, this comes from our students sharing it from the with the graph. It's real easy for our custodians to see, and then they look at that opportunity and say, what can we do better, and being able to make a visual picture versus having to do it in text. Next slide, please. This is an example of a very high performing school. It's an electrically heated, electrically air conditioned school. The high spike you see for us is, to Clint's point earlier, our systems are set to run every day. We don't do a lot of shutdowns across the summer. We run 1 hour in the morning to flush the building out of, so in case we needed to, if it was hot or cold, to keep the air circulation. It also keeps the HVAC running. Our mechanical folks do not want us to shut it down wholeheartedly in the fears that Clint talked about earlier. We want to make sure that it starts. So this really shows that this building's performing. Next slide. This is a checklist that we send out to the staff, set the building schedule, turn down, close the blinds, make sure that you unplug the lights that you don't need, close the drapes, and things here are very important. They get credit for that. We haven't used the incentive for a while because it's our new normal, but they do have to comply with this, and we work with our principals. And this also comes out during every event, about 4 times a year: spring, summer, fall, Thanksgiving break. This is we just modify it for the break. Next slide, please. And in closing, I just want to say that 25 million is real. We really get behind what we're doing here at Gresham-Barlow. The 27 years of experience in doing it really is, getting that administrative support. James Hu, our superintendent, has been supportive ever since he's been there. I know that The John Cook, our new interim superintendent, has been involved. We've got some of our staff members online today just to really share and see what's going on. But we need to keep doing it with Energy Star Partner of the Year information, tying it in with Portfolio Manager. It really gives us a good baseline at Gresham-Barlow to show the way. So thank you very much for the opportunity from Gresham-Barlow, and I'll give it back to you folks.
Thank you, Terry. I will just quickly mention that the deadline for 2024 Energy Star certification is coming up soon on December 13th. To be eligible for Energy Star certification, a building must earn an Energy Star score of 75 or higher on EPA's 1 to 100 scale. And I think that's probably our last slide. I think we'll now move on to the Q&A portion. But thank you all for attending, and I think, yeah, we'll get to some questions.